Welcome, America, to AmendmentOneRadio.com, where your First Amendment rights are still safe to say what's on your mind.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30, and my name is Catherine K. Guns. I have 15 years of experience with handling firearms, 2 years as a firearms dealer, and one day I took a concealed weapons permit course, and I learned more in that 3.5 hours than I did in all the years of ever handling firearms. That inspired me to become a firearms instructor. I am currently a range officer, and I enjoy teaching and learning every day. I have a guest with me today that's pretty awesome, too. His name is Dan Ford Scott, and he is his job titles are auctioneer and sales. What does that say? Sales?
Sales. Yeah.
Oh, sales. Okay, and then he's into weight training and politics, and he likes to hunt. And we have our other guest, so we're gonna have to pull another chair over. Gerald Markham is in the house. He's late, but he's in the house. How you doing? We'll give him this mic right here, and you slide in, and we'll push this one out. We'll make Dan Scott in the middle there. So, all right. So we got a little bit about a Dan, and let me see if we can pull this third mic right here. Get another one in here, and then you put switch ears. Maybe that'll work out. Hopefully. Should I have slapped a picture up in the middle of that so nobody saw the rearranging? So how are y'all doing? Hopefully maybe we could. I don't know if they're going to hear you or not. Hopefully your mic is operational. Yeah. I give him a little ding to make sure that Gerald Markham's mic is on home. So, Dan Ford, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm basically an auctioneer by trade, and I just here wanting to talk about the gun rights and the Second Amendment, basically, on today's program, and like some people to call in and have some thoughts, and we're going to discuss a few topics.
Yeah, he actually brought up quite a few really interesting topics when he came in today, and we just briefly went over them before the show. We're going to talk a little bit about, hey, where's the lottery money going? And then he also wanted to make some points where I thought they were very valid points, and NRA has brought it up too. He wanted to bring up of why can't we just put the military in the schools? And I even think Gerald Markham mentioned something about that, We got a lot of retired soldiers out there with nothing,
Retired police officers.
Yeah, give them some more work to do. I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that could put America back to work.
Well, retired police officers have great pensions. They have really good pensions.
Yeah, but what about as armed security guard schools? I'm an armed security guard, and they say it's kind of hard for them to get jobs, and it's a deterrent. So
absolutely,
yeah.
It's a deterrent.
Yeah. So, sure. Got any opinions on that, Gerald? How are you doing?
Oh, still crazy as ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to all the different things on. Actually, I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, and Rush, a couple of the others and stuff, and some of the things that even the Schnitt. So, I mean, I really don't care for Schnitt that much, but the whole thing about it is he does make a real valid point as far as all the school shootings that they've had. The majority of the shootings, it's already been proven that these children had mental issues. And, and it was just like mental illness because the Batman dude, this last one in Connecticut, and it's just like, we're addressing the fact that we want to take the guns away, but yet we don't want to address the fact of the mental illness that, these kids are having to deal with. And as far as a responsible parent, how can you honestly sit there and keep a gun in an area where a person that has mental disabilities that they have access to? I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
Well, that just goes to show you that there needs to be more responsibility with parents today.
Yep.
If they have guns and they own guns, they need to keep them under lock and key, and they need to have to send their children to safety gun classes if they have guns in the home, and by no means should they have access to those guns if the parents are not home. And the parents just have to get a lot more stricter and really wake up in this world because if they don't, we're just going to have more problems. Now, obviously, you talk about mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seeing a picture of the guy from Watertown in Connecticut, I mean, he scared me to death just the way he looked. I mean, he looked psycho. I mean, and I just can't understand why he was left home alone with access to guns that sat in the basement and played killer videos, and so I mean, it's just, it really comes down to the parents have got to wake up in this country and be responsible
There
for
you
their
go.
children
Yeah.
and
Yep.
what their children are doing. And, they ought to go, if they would just put some restrictions on them. My thing here, I think the children are just too spoiled right now in this country.
Yeah.
The parents have just spoiled them to death. And they sit and play video games and watch TV, and they
That's
ought
their
to have,
babysitter.
Yep.
they ought to have, hey, as mom and dad, look, you got 2 hours of TV, the rest is your studies, and you have 1 hour on computer or 1 hour on games. Now, I mean, parents just have to wake up in this world and be better parents, and we'll be a lot safer world for it.
Oh, I totally agree with that. And then on another note, the people that sell firearms, you guys need to be responsible too. I know in the state of Florida that we have the right to sell to whoever we want. It's a private to private sale, but it is your job to gather as much information from them as you can as a responsible gun owner. So let's say the guy comes up to you at a gun show and he wants to buy your gun and he's acting nervous and you don't ask for his ID. And you don't get any information from him, and you sell him a gun. It should be on your butt. It
Yep.
really should be. I believe that you're supposed to be responsible for that too. That's why they make. I'm not trying to be harsh about it because I also think it is our right, but at the same time, it's also our responsibility to kind of know what's going on. Ask them a few questions. Are they using it for hunting, or if you see sweat pouring off their forehead and they're looking around and everything, don't sell the gun. So-
Yeah, they actually had an interesting comment about that, actually. And one of the, I don't know if it was a politician or a news media person in New York that was sitting there complaining today in front of a group and was saying, why do you have to have an assault rifle with 30-round clips to go out there and go deer hunting? And, and I sit there and I thought about it for a second and I thought, well, why do we have politicians that lie to us? Because we can.
That's
So,
right.
When they can
It's all
answer my
right.
question, I'll answer their question.
And then Dan Scott had another one to ask them to answer for us. Where is the lottery money going? I pulled up an article from CBS News,
Yeah.
and it says, where do the Mega Millions go after the jackpot? And then they got a huge article here about where it goes, but they got some highlighted in here where it says that Mega Millions jackpot swells to $640 million, and Mega Millions, let me see, what to do if win the long odds of winning the jackpot. But anyways, okay, here it is. Let me see. I'll go back and start out right where it says because it was just so interesting. With so many tickets being sold for the Mega Millions jackpot, what happens to all that revenue? Once the winners are paid, CBS News chief investigative correspondent Armor Kettlingian, forgive me, I ripped his name up, but he looked into it. And in 2011, more Americans played the lottery than regularly attended in church, and bringing in $56 billion last year alone. So revenue from the pie is divided into three ways. About 60% goes to prize winners, 15% to retailers, marketing and operations, and 25%, or about $14 billion, goes back to the state for government services. And then it doesn't make any mention of education. So the Duke professor Charles Clotfelter is the author of the book on state lotteries, and he says it's very hard to say that these lottery dollars really make a difference, he said. So overall, 27 states earmark some lottery revenue for education. In Colorado, the dollars go to the environmental protection. In Pennsylvania, senior citizens programs. And in Kansas, money of the money pays for juvenile detention facilities. Many states bought into the lottery based on the belief that they were adding more money for education.
Listen, I was here in the early 1980s when the lottery first started.
Yep.
And they said that it was going to be, the money was going to be going to schools. Now, over time, and since people are not saying anything, obviously the funds are being misappropriated, like in any government, like any state government, like our federal government. We need an accounting, and people in the state of Florida need to wake up and need to use these dollars and, get rid of misappropriating funds and start protecting the schools with retired police officers, retired military officers. We can get the money. There's no excuse for it. There's
Yeah.
just no excuse for it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that's exactly what we were leading up to is listen, Timothy McVeigh did it without guns. And many other attacks have been stopped due to armed citizens, but they don't advertise or talk about that. And then, so let's say that the gun ban goes into effect. Well, come on, think about this. You ever seen a bad guy scratch his head and go, gee, that's against law. I better not do that. Okay, they're going to find ways. And now they found that this terrifies us the most. Large amounts of people dying, and it is terrifying. So, and then they find out they can get on the news and do all kinds of interesting stuff with it. So, even if we do ban the guns, now we're just defenseless.
Yeah. Well, did you see where they had where they published a list of people that owned gun licenses up north? And what was happening is the people that were in the neighborhood that didn't have their name listed were getting robbed because they knew the other houses had guns in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what sucks about that too is I've got to read here an article that I found. They posted it somewhere on the internet. I got it where battles over either the First Amendment or the Second Amendment often share similar dynamics. And so this news the people that are in this newspaper decided that they were going to advertise all the gun owners' names and addresses in New York. And oh my God, what a nightmare this was. So if you guys, let me read over this a little bit so you guys can hear how shocking this is. Battles over the First Amendment or Second Amendment often share similar dynamics, and with the defender exercisers of the amendments are arguing that freedoms are granted by the Founding Fathers that are nearly absolute and should not be modified just because sometimes people get hurt by them. But these issues get stickier in a situation where what pits the first against the second. The newspaper in White Plains, New York, has enraged local and not-so-local gun owners by publishing the interactive maps revealing the names and addresses of gun owners in this area. The information is public, and the New York's Freedom Information Law is fairly expansive. So it's not as though the newspaper has unearthed the secret, but the documents are data and published it. What's the difference now? It's that the internet and other technology allows a newspaper, for what that matter, any blogger or website or commentator, to make a public information very, very public. So much so that the people affected feel that they have been violated. I don't know about you, but I'd feel that way. I don't want anybody to know. So I quickly got back on there and I responded. I said, well, how would you like it if we refer to that you carry large amounts of money on you, or you have one of the world's largest jewelry collections, or what about publishing the kind of security you might or might not have at your house? So I saw that it was just disturbing. You know what it is people don't have common sense anymore, and they no morals. And you just use that instead of attacking and hurting people left and right. I just honestly don't watch the news hardly anymore.
Well, I mean, you don't know what to believe. I mean, you watch one station, you hear one thing. You watch another station, you hear another thing. I mean, it's so twisted. There is no news. You go to a foreign country like Sweden, and which my sister has been, and you get a whole different perspective on the news. Just to let you know.
Wow.
It's amazing in different countries, but we're not getting a straight story by any news station out there.
Oh, of course not, because it's all backed by money and who they're promoting and
lobbyists.
Sheeple.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to say this. Eisenhower warned us about the industrial might in this country. When they assassinated John F. Kennedy, he was the last true president of this country. Every president since John F. Kennedy has been a puppet to big money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they have had their right hand tied behind their back because they have to answer to the big money. Bilderberg Group is one of the big groups. It's where all the wealthiest people in the world come together, and they figure out, oh, this is exactly how we're going to do this and this and that. I mean, the president has limited powers. He is controlled by big money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Obama had to go when he was running for president, his first term. He also went and seen the Bilderberg Group to get their approval.
Well, that's why. Remember when him and Hillary disappeared?
Yep.
They went to the Bilderberg Group to get the approval.
Oh, that's okay. You know who else has been there recently within the past year is Condoleezza Rice. And there's also talk about her running for president in 2016.
Really? Wow. So you've heard it here. So
Yeah, you guys need
My
to
goodness.
look up the Bilderberg Group, learn more about them. That's really who the president of the country is, and it's leaders from all over the world that have billions of dollars. Okay, the Bilderberg Group.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So, and I believe was it this? It was Gerald. When was our last show? It was 2 weeks ago because we've been on
Yeah.
vacation for 2 weeks, and then we were talking about because my show was on Thursday, and then the NRA was supposed to speak out on Friday, so that was
Yep.
after, and we haven't had any chance to talk after that. They spoke of it, but we did hit some of the things that we thought they were definitely going to say on and in response to that, and I did get an article on that.
No.
Where the National Rifle Association broke its silence 4 days after the shootings with the statements the NRA is prepared to offer meaningful contributions to make sure this never happens again. And then on December 21st, the NRA called for the schools to be protected by armed guards. The best way to protect the children from gun violence is, and the group said that its steps other than gun control, including cracking down on criminals for fighting violence on the media, would be most effective. Wayne, at the NRA's executive vice president, also criticized violent video games and spoke of the need to deal with more effectively than the mentally ill. You know, when we grew up, we had Frogger. Okay? The video games,
Pac-Man.
yeah, right. And I haven't played I guess I'm still old school. I haven't played any of these modern games, but from what I understand, they said they're quite graphic.
Yeah.
So and we didn't get to play them unless we were, good and we had our homework and done and everything like that. So you spoil the child, you spare that rod. We didn't grow up like that. So this new generation of where we get in trouble if we spank our kids' ass. Excuse me for saying it, but it's true. Or I'll call the law on you.
Yeah.
You know why I don't have kids? Because I've chosen not to have kids. I mean,
Me too.
I would have.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's the kid's fault, okay? Because he would honestly never get that old to tell me something like that, because he would definitely have a lot of respect for me, much like I did for my mom.
Yeah, could you imagine if they went in there and had everybody playing Daytona 500? Could you imagine the death toll on the car rates and stuff? Everybody be crashing. Everybody be like old Richard Petty, rubbing ain't racing. We're just bumping.
We're just bumping. Oh my God. So it just so I guess we got some, the video games that plays a contribute to it. Then we have the lack of parenting that plays a contribute. I made the decision not to have kids because I realized that I probably just wouldn't have enough time, and maybe my temper wouldn't be as good to raise a kid. So I made a conscious decision there, and I know it's the right one. Just like with gun owners and gun owners that have children, make a conscious decision to either lock those firearms or put away, or maybe not own a firearm because maybe your children are just a little too wild. You can't tell me, and it's such a hard subject, okay? But you can't tell me that if this really happened with this little punk, that mama didn't know that there was something wrong with her kid.
Like I said, I mean, you see a picture of him, he
Yeah.
scares you to death. I mean,
Yeah.
so,
The bad part about it is, the real irony is the fact that she sit there and taught him how to use a gun and everything like that, but yet she was the first one he killed.
Yeah, wow. Unbelievable. Thank you for bringing my screen back. I hit the computer and I lost the screen. What it was trying to do is I got on Facebook and a lot of my friends had sent some really funny pictures. And I don't know if my computer techie guy behind the screen will be able to drop one in there for me. I don't know how to do it. I kept trying to, and I guess it won't let me. So he's got the mouse now, so he's in control of putting some really funny pictures up there. So definitely I like that. So it says if you can actually think that the criminals are going to obey the gun laws, you're a special kind of stupid, aren't you?
It's like old Sam Elliott.
It is Sam Elliott, And they've always said, "Who do I love? I love Sam Elliott."
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, you take the guns away, only outlaws will have guns. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah. Well, that's like when they did the study in Australia when they lost their guns. The first year after all their guns were taken away, their crime rates went up 25%.
Oh yeah.
and their death tolls went up tremendously. And it's just like, and so this is what you're wanting to do. I mean, because Australia has said it, Canada has said it, even some of the other countries that don't have guns, they've sit there and said, "Don't let them take your guns."
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I think I have some statistics too somewhere around on here. I thought I saw it last night, which was pretty interesting. No, I'm gonna go anyways. But it was talking about drunk drive. Oh, you saw that? Okay, so guys, just wondering what we're all laughing at when we paused on. I don't know if my techie can grab.